Yeah, I would say like watching your video and then getting into the community, because I think I watched your video before I was in my role.
You passed my beautiful house, but you didn't show my beautiful house, man. I was like, come on, dude. If we aren't strategic, we will not survive.
And here I am again, Danville, Illinois, for my third Danville video. Obviously, we all know that this is a city that has seen a lot of problems, has a lot of challenges to overcome. Well, in this video, we're going to be talking about how the city is trying to overcome its challenges.
It's no secret, anyone who's familiar with this city knows the current state of this city. The mayor isn't hiding from it, neither is the community relations administrator. Both Ricky Williams Jr. and Rheanna Ollis wanted to respond to my video on Danville uploaded on June 21st, 2024, titled as The Right Armpit of Illinois. So, I stopped by and let them speak about what's being done to turn things around.
Might be hard to see that pedestrian bridge up there, but the message on it says, "You decide what's possible," as you enter Danville on US Highway 150.
We all have dreams.
So, when you first became mayor, what were some of the first challenges that you noticed with Danville?
The biggest challenges were population, industry, and business loss. Number 2, public safety, and number 3, blight. Those were certainly the biggest challenges that we faced by a lot. So Danville, when I was growing up, people used to tell me as a kid, like, oh, Danville used to be 50, 60, 70,000 people. I'm a political scientist by training. So what do? You look at the census.
I tend to look at data from the US Census a lot too. I do it for every video to be exact. Here's a beautiful graph that shows the population history. Yeah, that's not right. Hold on. There we go. That's more accurate. The population count in 1970 was 42,570 to be exact. And that's when Danville hit its peak population. The latest population estimates show that the city is home to 27,981. The last time the population in Danville, Illinois has been that low was before the year 1920.
So to make a long story short, in 50 years, we lost about 40% of our population. From the late 90s to early 2000s, we had a General Motors close, General Electric, and most of Heister Yale. And just from those alone, we lost over 7,000 jobs. When NAFTA passed, that was nearly a death knell for a lot of industry here. What have we done? First of all, we put public safety, I think, is always the most important thing. So number 1, we put a lot of support behind our police and fire departments. So when I started, we only had 53 officers. We now have 70 officers. When I started, our police cars were breaking down in pursuit of people. Literally, our guys and gals were getting out of their cars with yellow streaks on their pants because there was foam. The foam was sticking through our police cars. We've replaced our entire police fleet. We replaced all but one of our fire engines now. We have established special units in police and fire to address issues throughout the community. And I'm really proud to say our overall crime rate has gone down by almost 25%, and our violent crime rate in the city of Danville has gone down by over 61%. Our shootings are down by over 150 some odd percent, and we have great cooperation with the public. We've been asking people to see something and say something, and because we're actually making arrests and because we're actually getting people, they are. So although, as Chief Yates would tell you, we're never satisfied with where crime is at, it is certainly heading in the right direction. It's something I'm very proud of.
On the community perspective of it, that's what's also really cool. It's like not are we only taking more proactive steps towards like directly apprehending, but we're connecting with the community through Friendly Town, which is for the kiddos to learn like street safety, cyber safety, that type of thing, and getting them directly interacted with the police department at a young age.
Is Friendly Town, is that a program?
It is a location and a program.
I got you.
It's a cool, like, miniature city in one of our parks, Lincoln Park. It's got brand new roads. I think the thing that I'm most proud about our community that you would never see in any video, right, is our people. The people here are incredible. They have a heart of gold. They work so hard to make the community better. And we celebrate well together. And we also, when sad things happen or when people are in need, we rally together to help each other, right? So we had hundreds of volunteers that came out last year and helped with Friendly Town. It had been neglected for so many years. Like, buildings were starting to rot out. The roads looked bad. Well, the late Senator Bennett got us a grant to help with some of those things. But all the buildings, the plants, the flowers, all of that, you see, people came in, church groups, neighborhood associations came in and fixed it all up, and it looks incredible.
Yeah, industry.
And that's what I would say, and our businesses. And that's what I would say is, like, you can't see the heart of the community, and our heart, despite all the obstacles we face, is still strong.
Yeah, I would say like watching your video and then getting into the community, because I think I watched your video before I was in my role. And like I said, I'm not originally from Danville. I'm just outside of Danville, but I've lived in Danville for the last 5 years. So I had that perspective of being like kind of outside the community looking in and like seeing it from like that plane up front, just driving through. And it's really different once you start getting involved. If I could push anything that would help change our community into being better is to engage our citizens and have them help us out. You know, what it takes to make a good community is good neighbors. And I'm not talking about neighbors on one side of the street and the other. I'm talking about neighbors from north to south and east to west to all make it happen. When we start repairing roads in the area, like the East End that me and you were talking about, we repaired roads and we were tearing down blight. And with that, some of the neighbors started seeing that and were taking better care of their properties because they saw that, like, oh, the city's investing in this area to try to improve it and to increase property values and provide new development land that we didn't have before. And the cool thing was watching the neighbors be excited, be happy about it, and start like taking pride in their area and just making it even better. You can see it like as you drive through. I'm sure you did like the little pop-up areas of like the most beautiful landscaping you could imagine. And then there's like an empty lot and you're like, what is this? And that's part of it is us tearing down the blight that we have that's safety or just plain ugly, because plain ugly decreases property values. So that's something that's been really interesting and unique to see.
Plus, blighted buildings, they can be a safety hazard.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
they absolutely are.
The Bresee Tower?
Yes.
I said Breeze, but it's the Bresee Tower, and it's the biggest topic in town these days. Demolition has been going on throughout the spring and summer of 2025. I was able to get some invader drone shots of it on the day of that interview, which was June 7th, and I was able to come back about 3 weeks later to see how far along the demolition has come. The Bresee Tower was the tallest building in Danville, but it had been neglected for a long time. They've had at least one lane along Main Street closed for over a year due to bricks falling off of the facade and crashing onto the street, which could cause damage to any vehicle that would have been sitting beneath, and even worse, it could have caused severe injuries.
Unfortunately, we had to go through, a couple of years of a court process to get that right, of course, and then you have to build it. So, you have to bid it. I meant so, bidding it out and all of that, and then also because there was a county building wrapped around it, and they wanted that torn down too. We had to figure out an intergovernmental agreement, so it took a while, but I'm glad to say we're finally getting it done. When I took over, so in terms of that blight and those issues, when I took over, we were demolishing maybe 10 to 15 structures a year. Since I've been mayor, we've demolished over 400 structures in 6 years, and we're getting close to 500 structures. That makes a huge difference in terms of appearance and safety, and then also property value. But like Rheanna said, the pride that people take. So, you look on the east side of town, like Edward Street that we've rebuilt. We use community development block grant money for that. Those people, literally, the permits in that area have skyrocketed for people doing work and stuff to their house, right? So there are several places in there. Just south of there, there's a main thoroughfare called Cleveland Street where we've already done the sidewalks and we're about to redo the main roads as well. And so I think throughout the town, one of the things that I'm proud of is I have older people that say, we haven't seen this much activity in Danville in a long time. If you were to drive around downtown, for example, If you had done a video 2 years ago compared to now, it's drastically different. You look at the improved roads, the improved infrastructure and drainage, all the new businesses that we have downtown yet. It's very different than it was. And I'm not Pollyanna. Look, Danville is not perfect. We still have some huge freaking hurdles that we've got to overcome, right? Look, I told you we've torn down over 400 structures, but guess what? We have probably 1,000 yet that need torn down because of that population house. We had a study done by a local foundation. We have 2,500 more homes than we have people to live in them. Okay, so that is an ongoing battle right there, right? So we've turned down almost 20% of them, right? But I still have 80% more to go, and so we are trying to be very strategic with where we take things down. So we're working on main thoroughfares. Ricky, why are main thoroughfares so important? Number one, all of us who live here have to see and deal with that all the time, right? But number two, when visitors like you come through, what do they see? They may or may not go across the lake to some of our most beautiful neighborhoods. They may not go to Maywood and see the historic, $500,000 homes that we have. But they may just go to the college or to the civic center. Well, what do you see on the way there? So we've been really hitting those main thoroughfares. The problem is that, you have to fight all these things in court. Like people think, Mayor, you wave this magic one and bad houses go away. But literally, you got to go to court to make that happen. You only get so many cases a week. But that's what I think that, I'm really proud of is, so I'll give you an example. West Downtown, that's the neighborhood just north of there. It's probably one of the oldest parts of Danville. You have some beautiful homes in there. And 25 years ago, they started this thing called the Renaissance Initiative. They started fixing up these houses, right? You got people to move into them. And then what happened? The city did not fulfill their promise. We left them abandoned, and they were still surrounded by blight, crack houses, prostitutes, drugs, you name it, right? Okay, so when I came in, I promised the people that we would finally fulfill our promise. And if you drive, West Downtown is like, it's this street that's just to the west of us, which is Walnut, to Main Street, to Gilbert Street, to West William Street, to the north. You will see we have now cleared out all of the bad houses from there. We dropped the last bad house at the beginning of last month. Why is that so important? Number one, it shores up the neighborhood. It makes the people that are there safe. It looks better, but then it makes room for infill. The thing that I'm really excited about is we just entered an agreement with a developer for 6 lots that are going to become 4 lots, and there are going to be 4 new houses built there. Guess what? That's 4 times as many new houses as we've had in the last 5 years built in Danville. If that goes well, then he intends to build many more here. Another cool thing where the old Lincoln School and Lincoln Church were that we tore down on the west side of town, not far from the new $80-90 million Carl development. We have been buying houses in there and cleared up, and we have someone who intends to build 26 2- and 3-bedroom apartment duplexes. So
where is that exactly? Like it's cross street?
If you were to go to head west on William Street, so on West William, so go out to this, if you went out to this light and head north and turn left, you drove in that neighborhood a little bit because you passed my house. Yeah. You passed my beautiful house, but you didn't show my beautiful house, man. I was like, come on, dude. And you'll now see a nice new $90 million medical complex too, right?
I saw that.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that.
Were they in construction then, or?
No, it looked brand new. It looked like it just opened.
Yeah.
There were over 60 bad houses that we tore down there to make that happen, right? And so, anyways, if you just north of there, a couple of blocks, West Williams is and then it's to the south there. You'll see where we already have cleared the old church and school. It's huge, but literally all of that from Harmon Street to William Street to Grant Street to the railroad tracks, we now own all of that. We received $850,000 grant from our congresswoman, and the rest of those bad houses in there will be torn down so that there's space for the new houses to be built. And then with the remainder of the money, we will be giving money to the existing householders to fix up their homes so that this is a nice premier area. Basically, what we're trying to do is capitalize on the development. You've got this $100 million development. You've got to make use of it, right? So what do you do surround that? And then what I love about that is then if you look all the way from Logan Avenue to West Downtown, you have completely clear and nice, right? Then we had set aside 5 years ago $4 million to tear down Bresee Tower. Our portion is only $1.2 million. What's that mean? I have $2.8 million. And guess what? So then we're going to get rid of all the rest of the blight in downtown. So then you will have all the way from the river to the heart of the town cleared out and ready for redevelopment. We have limited resources and we have limited people. So it makes stewardship critical, and it makes it like we have to be strategic. If we aren't strategic, we will not survive. Not only will we not stabilize, but we will continue to decline. And that's something that we cannot have in our community. And that's why we're fighting so hard and being so strategic. I'm so excited. We're going to have, by the end of this, within a year, we will have 8 of our top 10 stormwater management plans completed, basically all throughout town, from the north end to the south end. Since I've been mayor, we completed a $9 million causeway over Lake Vermilion that adds a pedestrian walkway so that people can go back and forth across our lake and really enjoy it much better. We also had a brand new sanitary sewer lines that went along with that project. So
I think a lot of stuff like that, like when you think of city government, you know that they do those things, but you don't think about it. And so like those are areas of development that you can't necessarily always physically see. You drive by and you're like, oh, it's another empty lot. And you're like, yeah, but there was an awful house there that was a safety hazard. And now I'd much rather have a grassy lot of green space than anything else. And while we were talking about downtown, I think it's important. Me and you talked about this, Chris, about how important it is that we're not hiding from any issues that we have. We know we've lost industry. We know we've lost places like Quaker that have taken big hits to not only Danville, but Vermilion County as a whole. And I'm sure probably part of Indiana with our border lines being so close. And we hate that. Unfortunately, when you're a Fortune 500 company, there's so little that we can do to try to keep them here. Kind of once the big heads decide that they're going to go, there's no push. And we've seen Tilton face that issue with UPS. But something that's cool is that you can kind of see a change in Danville. We were a big industry town, but look how many downtown businesses that we have that are new. We have Revel Bakery. We have Danville Gardens did an expansion. We got a Bowman Studios, Obsidian Coffee. This is just like running down my list. Taylor's Trends. And these are all different things, from food to hair to clothing and accessories. So I think something unique is to look at Danville now and like, yes, we were an industry town, and no, these small businesses can't provide for 500 employees. However, these are people who chose to invest in Danville. And these aren't the people who are going to leave us high and dry, because they've made a huge financial investment here and they want us to prosper as much as we want us to prosper. So it's really cool to see these new local businesses. And my hope for Danville is, I feel like we all have a similar vision, but we take different aspects that we like engage in. And mine is, I really hope we start to embrace more local businesses and supporting them. Because again, it's not them who are leaving us high and dry when our employees and our people in our city need help.
I talked about this in my video from a year ago, that the Quaker Oats factory suddenly closed in town as recently as June 2024 after operating in Danville since 1969. The closure forced Danville to lose 510 jobs. At the time, it was among the largest employers in Danville. 1 year later, and the building is already demolished.
Prior to Quaker closing, we had over 600 new full-time, good-paying jobs in Danville since I've been mayor. Mm-hmm. And with Quaker closing, that cut it by 5/6. 80% just gone like that, right? But we're fighting like heck to come back from that and make sure that all the things that we can control are in good order, so that would be good. Just before I forget, over there on the East End, East William Street has been completely redone all the way from Bowman Avenue to State Street. Again, that's a main thoroughfare in a lower income part of town, and so this notion that we've forgotten about or we've abandoned the people on the East End is not the case at all. We just built a $12 million aquatics facility on the east side of town. If you were to drive around Garfield Park, you'll see that we're making a huge investment because that's probably our busiest park in the city of Danville. We have several hundred kids who participate in a youth football and cheerleading program there. We have the Boys and Girls Club, which is right there, several hundred kids. And we also have two of our largest elementary schools within 6 blocks of there. So they deserve a nice park to be at. New football fields being done. There's drainage being done. But also, if you look around the surrounding areas, Fairchild and Griffin Street, again, main thoroughfares, you will see that we've made major investments in the roads and things like that too. So really proud of the work that we're doing, not just in one part of town, but really all over town. Since I've been mayor, we've had multiple expansions. Viscofan just did a $25 million expansion. With that, they added also about 30 or 40 new employees. We've had so many places that actually have expanded since I've been here. And that also shows me that we have folks who are committed to this community, especially in terms of those smaller employers, 50 to, let's say 300 employees.
It's really interesting because I do not always see the community development side of like what new industry and business is being built. I am definitely like community relations, hands-on with the public. So something that I kind of recently learned about is in the last few years, Genpact and Hana Food Industries, their facilities weren't full. The factories are now in fact full. I talked with Logan Kronk, our community development administrator, and he was like, every factory that we have that is capable of holding industry has industry in it right now. We do not have any facilities that are open. To follow up on Quaker, because I know that's something that me and you talked about that we definitely want to cover, is we have had Quaker take down the building. So
they funded the expenses.
Yep. So we're like, okay, fine. If you're going to leave us, the least that you could do to help us out here is take down the facility. And the cool thing is the utility lines and everything is still there. So hopefully if we can get some remediation and grant funding from the state of Illinois, senators and our representatives in the area, we can potentially get new development there. It has the acreage that they need. It has the utility lines that it needs, and it's in an industry area. So there's going to be no hassle with trying to fight an ordinance on getting something there because we're already used to having industry there.
It also, in addition,
the rail line
has a rail spur right there, which makes it ideal. One of the biggest challenges we face in terms of industrial development in our community or any kind of large employer is just what Rheanna said. So we either have the land but with no utilities there, and let's face it, utilities are not going to spend tens or hundreds of millions of dollars for a possibility, right? Or we have the utilities, but not enough land. So Danville strategically acquired the land that used to be Heatcraft right next to the Quaker site. So we already own 40 some acres there. The Quaker site is 50 some acres. So you combine that together, and all of a sudden we have and we're pushing Quaker hard to donate that land, or at least give us first right of refusal. That way we could buy it and control our own destiny, right? If they're going to sell it, that would give us 100 acres, as Rheanna said, with all the utilities already there. There's one major challenge we have. There's a creek that runs through there, and when it rains hard, it floods. So we're working on remediation. We believe it's going to cost us a couple $1 million to get that remediated. Our Congress people, Congresswoman Kelly and our Senators Hammy Duckworth actually put that forward for consideration for appropriations to help us to remediate that problem. But if we can, we would have a possibility of, the best of both worlds with the utilities and the infrastructure and also the size of acreage, because most places are looking for 50 to 100 acres or more. So that's something that we're fighting it at every angle, right? It's like, it's not one thing that's going to fix everything here.
Right.
It's good stewardship. It's good vision and planning. If we can do that well, then we have a shot. If we don't, we will continue to die.
But also what we need for industry that I feel like is sometimes overlooked is employees. We need good employees to show up and be responsible, because we have to have good employees to keep those factories in place. If the factories don't see support in the workforce, they won't come here, or they will come here and they'll leave.
Right.
So something that I think is really important, as much as the city can be responsible for making sure we're bringing in industry, if that is spending millions of dollars so we can employ 500 more people, I think that's a worthy investment.
Absolutely.
Because not only do those people have jobs now, but they're providing back economically. So if we can invest that money into a new factory, which I know millions of dollars is a lot. I wish I had $1 million in my pocket. But what that does is provide jobs for families. and support. And what that means is new houses will be built because we'll gain in population. We'll want that. That means new people coming in and having the money to be able to support their properties. So there's a lot of things that I think the city is responsible for. However, the part I like to emphasize is we also need our citizens to help us step up and be good employees and support the businesses we do have. Because if we don't support the businesses we do have, we're not going to get new ones. So like Seven Brew is one of our newer, more franchise style businesses that we have, and they are packed every day. And what that has done is helped show other places that we can support them. You know, so we had Seven Brew, we had Scooters, we had Smitty's Car Wash all come in right around the same time. And we were told that when people are looking at us, that helps. Seeing these new franchises that are coming into Danville and showing that we are supporting them and like they are making money back from this, it helps in bringing in new people and new things and new franchises.
And it doesn't seem new to us anymore, but Starbucks, the mattress company,
Jersey Mike's,
all of those are within the last couple of years. You know what I mean? So if you drive north on North Vermilion Street, you will see that we have lots of new businesses, but they're the businesses that everywhere are getting. You go to Champaign-Urbana, guess what?
They're getting them
They've
too.
got a new Smitty's, they've got a new Seven Brew, they've got a new Take 5, you know what I mean? So a lot of the places that they're getting, I just took a trip, I kind of trekked through Southern Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee. Guess what? They've got new Seven Brews, they've got new Take 5s, they've got, so the fact that we're also able to get a lot of the new things that are in these other prominent cities, to me, says that, you know, we still have some staying power.
Were you not getting those new businesses before?
We were not for a long time. We hadn't. And in fact, we used to have a Starbucks years ago.
And they left.
Did they come back or did they take it back?
Yes, after 10, 12 years. You
Yeah.
know? So I mean, Applebee's is another example.
Yep.
Literally, we didn't have, we'd had an Applebee's. Gosh, you're so young. You may not really remember.
Hey, I always remember Applebee's.
We had Applebee's. They were gone forever, and now they're back here. And so one of the things that I'm really proud of too is we made some forays into ethnic foods, right? So like I'm from here, and here we have our Midwest, meat and veggies, right? Which is wonderful. I love a good meat and veggie, right? But like when I went to college and grad school, I got to experience these other cuisines, right? So some of the things that people had asked me for forever are like more Asian food and more like Italian food. Well, I'm stoked because a couple of blocks from here, we have a new Italian place called Roma. They literally make they're from Italy. They make their pasta fresh here. You know what I mean? It's delicious food. You go across town on the east side where you're going to see Voorhees and Quaker and where you're going to see the beautiful new pool and everything. There's a restaurant called Kobe. It's a Vietnamese restaurant. So you can get pho and other stuff you could have never gotten in Danville. You go up north to Snappers and Turtle Run. They actually serve Indian food now. I think some of it too is also embracing the diversity of people that we have in our community. Now, we already had, thankfully, a number of really good Chinese restaurants. We've got tons of good Mexican food, right? But to be able to branch out and get these other kinds of new cuisine that Danville hasn't had here, I think also helps keep people here. It improves quality of life, and it keeps our, it just shows everyone that we have a little bit more to offer. The improvements that we've made to parks, not just Garfield Park, but Ellsworth Park, just across the bridge here, we got a $400 and some odd $1,000 grant. Danville matched that, and then we also added our own additional things. You go to Ellsworth Park; it's beautiful. The cool thing is we put in a 9-hole disc golf, but a river runs to the park. But then we couldn't host tournaments because it wasn't 18 holes. So this past year we added those 9 holes, and guess what? We just hosted our first Professional Disc Golf Association regional event there. Brought over 100 people to our community. You know what I mean? And so it's things like that. This year there are 2 parks that have been neglected forever: Elmwood and Cannon Park, that are going to be completely redone. You go there now and they look terrible, but guess what? By the end of the year, early next spring, they'll be beautiful again. We're also, in all of our parks, we're doing things like court resurfacing. Lincoln Park, we've done so much work there already with the Danville Tennis Center and other things.
We're redoing the bathrooms, like painting, like genuinely just making it look prettier and nicer.
but also major upgrades. So in Lincoln Park, for example, that's right in the heart of the city. That's where the Danville Municipal Plan base
And Friendly Town is.
That's where Friendly Town is at. You'll go and see some old nasty basketball courts and tennis courts and stuff. Those are all getting ripped out this summer, and they're going to be replaced with 2 nice basketball courts. I guess what I would say is, yeah, there's lots of issues. I'm not Pollyanna. I know that, right? But at the same time, we're actually doing something about it. And I think that's the thing I'm the most proud of, is that our citizens are starting to see that we're actually doing something about the problems that we have. We're not just talking about it. So it's starting to give them a little bit of hope again.
Yeah. So like community relations side, just to give you a rundown of other things we're trying to initiate. We always hear that. So we have a 3-minute time limit on our city council meetings for people to come up and speak, and people despise it. So what I did was I created What's Brewing with Mayor Williams. It's a quarterly coffee talk where people can just come out and chat with us. I feature a division head in it. So, if you're interested in development, you can come and talk to our person that handles development. If you're interested in the person who deals with our finances, come and talk directly to them, and creating that open access, meeting our citizens where they're at. We also have the First Fridays in downtown Danville, which is why I couldn't meet you yesterday, is because we had that event. And that's an event series that the city of Danville does all year long. And we don't use any tax dollars on it. We raise about $70,000 in sponsorship from local businesses. Again, like one of our biggest sponsors is OSF. And while they're incredibly active in our community and constantly providing healthcare, they're also supporting like the fun quality of life aspect.
And in these events, we have, like last night, even with the rain, we had a summer luau last night. There were still 300 or 400 people there, and that's a small event. A lot of our events, we have 500 to 1,000 people, and several of our events, we have 3,000 plus people. We have an annual Harry Potter festival every year. We get 3,000 plus people like that. We have a couple from Texas that plan their vacation around coming to our Potter Fest. Last year, I met people from Ohio, from Indiana, of course. There were people there from Iowa, from bigger cities in the area, Bloomington, Peoria, Champaign.
So basically, people are like, there's nothing to do. There's nothing for my family to do. There's nothing to do. So we're like, all right, we got you. We will do First Fridays. Every first Friday of the month, you can count on having something. And more often than not, they're free or low cost. Yeah. So last night we had a ticketed dinner, but the dinner tickets were $15 and everything else was free. So you could pop down a lawn chair, listen to the music, and hang out with people, or you could do the dinner. So our events, they always change up. We're trying to keep people, interested and have a reason to come downtown. Another way that we support our small businesses. And then we've also created a city council digest. Not only does the mayor have a degree in poli-sci, so do I. So I love government. That's what my interest is in. So I created a city council digest, and it's a briefing. It's a few sentences on each item on our agenda to go through and explain to people what it is, because I don't think often enough people understand like what sometimes ordinances mean, or council members and the mayor, forgive me, can use terminology that not everybody else knows just because they're so used to it. Yeah. So I was like, all right, well, let's help out. So every Friday after a council meeting, I will post a city council digest. It's just a quick briefing so you can keep up to date on what's going on. What did that city council mean? Because God knows we don't want to sit through the 3-hour meetings, and we do. So I might as well provide a short form for other people to engage with. Right. So like, not only are we on the infrastructure side where we're like doing those main improvements that we have to have and trying to find more people to come here for jobs or provide more jobs. But we're also on that community resource and quality of life on that side where we're upgrading our parks and we're providing events and we're finding new ways to get our citizens to engage with our council members, like trying to hit all of the different areas and aspects. And I think I've said this like 10,000 times, but I think sometimes the hardest part is just getting our citizens to engage with those items, because we have to know what your concerns are. You have to share it with us. And unfortunately, a comment on commercial news or a YouTube video or anything else isn't what works. That is not what reaches our aldermen. It's not what reaches me to share that message with our team members. So just reaching out to us and connecting with us to be able to find what do you want? What do you want us to change? And we'll work.
It's an interesting dichotomy too, because like over the last year, I have met so many people. I've met people that have moved here from Oregon, from Texas, from Florida, from Canada. We've had people move here from the Philippines. And I'm like, and these aren't people, sometimes you have somebody who went away to school like I did and then they're coming back, or someone who lived, away for 20 years and now they're coming back to take care of aged parents. I don't mean people like that. I'm talking about people that literally just chose us. And I'm like, I love Danville, but out of all the places in the country, out of all the places in the world, why here? But this is what they tell me. There we look at things. We have the lowest cost of living of any metropolitan area in the country. I mean, you can buy a beautiful house on the lake for $400,000 or $500,000, right? Or a nice house in a good neighborhood for $100,000, right? Here in Vermilion County, we have over 15,000 acres of park space. In the city of Danville alone, we have almost a dozen parks that have all different kinds of features.
We have the most park acres per capita in our state.
Yeah.
The county does.
The county does, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Danville adds to that with our 11 or 12 parks.
So that's like a Kickapoo State Park and all that.
Yeah. Kickapoo, Kennecott, Forest Glen's in there. So those big state parks.
Harden Park that's at the north of Danville.
Are there pedestrian paths that connect the city to the state park, by the way?
They are working on it. So there is a group. It's called the Kickapoo Rail Trail.
I think that'd be.
It's so amazing. Currently, they are in Oakwood, and they reach all the way to Urbana-Champaign, which is great to meet with the U of I college kids. I say kids, but some of them are older than me. So to reach over there, and there is an agreement currently that they will be bringing the rail trail up to Danville. They will be going through Ellsworth Park and the Vermilion Heights Neighborhood Association and going all the way up to meet Logan, correct?
So Kickapoo Rail Trail actually goes to the Vermilion County Fairgrounds. And then from there, it's 2.5 miles from Oakwood and then goes all the way to Urbana. So we have a 4-mile gap to get it in the city of Danville. We've had multiple issues, one of them being the highway. And how do we get people across there? Well, we just got an agreement from IDOT to allow them to use an abandoned bridge that they did. We also, the rail trail has finally gotten the railroads, because we've had multiple meetings with them, to agree to allow us to purchase, or the conservation district to purchase that land between there. And once we're able to finalize those things, then we'll be able to bring them in town. We've created tons of shared use paths and bike lanes in town. And what we're trying to do right now is to connect all of those different things. One of the things that you'll see is across the way here, we still call it the Civic Center, although the name is technically the Palmer Arena, catty corner from us. That's where lots of events happen in Danville. That's where our semi-pro hockey team plays. So anyways, right by there, the city of Danville owns all of that land.
So here I am right outside of the David Palmer Arena in Danville, where they plan on recreating this area and making it a more park-like area. Here's the construction of a river walk right here. Looks like they have the path carved out. But yeah, the area behind the arena, just a bunch of vegetation, and behind this is the river. And the plan is to redevelop this whole area, make it a more pedestrian-friendly, park-like area. One thing that they have here is the main thoroughfares. You can see the intersection of 136 and 150 right there. Very busy intersection. A lot of people drive over the speed limit, I've noticed, going across this intersection in both directions. I think maybe a roundabout there would be a really good idea. Just a large roundabout, 2 lanes. I know that would cost a lot of money, however, but here's the thing. Those are roads that are funded by the state of Illinois. So if they could convince the Illinois Department of Transportation to turn that intersection into a roundabout, I think that would be a really good thing for this city. They're trying to make this a more pedestrian-friendly area right there. That would help big time. And if you could even get Illinois to put in a pedestrian bridge, or maybe you would go underneath, because yeah, it would probably be underneath. So complete this pathway underneath the highway there, and then make that a roundabout, get people to slow down. I think that would be a big step in the right direction.
We were in the phase 1 for the design of the riverfront to kind of create basically our own river walk right there. We have a little bit of boardwalk down by the river. What we want to do is we want to put some overlooks at the top and connect that so that you're almost going through a loop. So that is actually literally under design. We should have that, I would say, within the next 2 or 3 months. And then what would happen is the rail trail would connect into Ellsworth Park, where I told you we have the disc golf. And then from Ellsworth Park, you would be able to get to the actual riverfront. And then that would connect you right to downtown.
And along like the safety and bike lanes, I was pulling this up so I could find the number, but I still can't find it. We received a large grant that's for design and construction of a safety road agreement. And along like the safety and bike lanes, I was pulling this up so I could find the number, but I still can't find it. We received a large grant that's for design and construction of a safety road agreement that we're partnering with Vermilion County on. So it will add bike lanes, make sure we have ADA accessible sidewalks,
and reduce crashes.
So it was a report that was created, and then we partnered with just shy of $10 million for shared bike lanes, like you mentioned. It helps the roads. We have certain areas that are prone to crashes, I guess is how you'd refer to it. And this was going to really be a huge help for those people. And as well as it shows great partnership that we're willing to work with not only the city's the one who applied for the grant, but partner with Vermilion County and make sure that all of them are being taken care of as well. Because with Vermilion County being a bunch of smaller towns and Danville being the main hub, a lot of people come here. Right. So we want to support our Vermilion County residents as much as we want to support our City of Danville residents. They provide with purchasing gas or groceries or shopping here. And it shows a great partnership that we're willing to work together with. Vermilion County has its issues and we'll help where we can too.
I'm also very proud because in terms of that blight, one of the things that we have and we're starting to be known for throughout the state and region is our proactive code enforcement, right? We have 4 folks who have the city divided into 4 quadrants, and that's their whole job is to drive around and assess environmental issues. Someone has a bad house. There's garbage in their yard. They're letting their grass or weeds get too tall. We work with our citizens. We first talk to them and say, hey, can you get this cleaned up? Give them a chance. They don't get it cleaned up, and we start taking them through our municipal accountability program. But then also we've recently, because we've had an issue with rental houses, we have a lot of amazing landlords, but we have some that aren't great. And part of my job and our job as a city is to make sure people have safe living conditions. So we've actually also just less than a year ago created 2 new positions for rental inspectors. And that's all they do is that they inspect rental properties to help our people get back on track. But because we're doing so well with these things, we actually have been invited to present at the Illinois Municipal League because we've made so much inroads in terms of our code enforcement and things like that. But not only that, there's an organization called the Illinois Housing Development Authority. It's a branch of state government. They give out grants for a number of things. Primarily, though, they do rehabilitation grants for homeowners, and then also they do blight reduction. We have been so successful with those programs that I think we're on our 4th one where we've done so well, and maybe some other communities haven't, or they haven't spent our money, so they invite us to get more money. We just received an additional over $1 million to help people fix up their homes, right? We also just received an additional $500,000 to demolish blighted homes because we are doing so well in those areas. So yeah, you still see tons of blight. You still see houses that are struggling. But the difference is we're actually doing something about it now versus just letting it rot.
We are considered one of like the high priority areas because our grant and community development is so successful here at the city. They're willing to work with us. They see actionable items to the money that they're giving us. And with that means that they're willing to give us more money. And the best part is as selfish as this is, the money isn't going back to the state with that. They're allowing us to apply for it and receive it back. And that's what's super cool is it is being invested right back into the community. And one of the big complaints I've seen on social media recently is grant money still tax dollars. Well, unfortunately, a city government operates on tax dollars first. And second is those tax dollars aren't only coming from Vermilion County residents. They're coming from the Chicago people. They're coming from Southern Illinois.
The grant money's coming from the state.
Right. Exactly. So I feel like that's something that's not often thought of. Like people, you know how it is being from the Midwest, is people are always like the big cities, it's their fault. And like, actually, they are a huge contributor to the CDBG funds that we've received and the IDA funds that we've received. They've been a huge help and probably why we've received so much, because it definitely wouldn't be coming from smaller communities like us.
I guess if there's anything that I would say is that I want people to know that we have problems.
Absolutely.
But we're actually doing something about the problems. And not only that, but we have a plan across multiple areas. It's not just, oh, we're going to tear down some houses. We're tearing down houses so we can build new ones, right? We're tearing down houses so that people feel safe. I was an alderman for almost 10 years before I became mayor. I had a little old lady who keeps her yard pristine. I mean, this woman literally goes out and trims her bushes with scissors, okay? Like, it got to a point where she was scared to leave her house because both of the houses beside her were abandoned, and one was overgrown and critters were going in and out and then trying to destroy her house by digging and stuff, right? And then the other one, unfortunately, people who were making very bad choices were going in and out. So it got to a point where this little old lady who loves her house, who takes care of it, she even stopped doing that. She hired somebody to cut the grass and she hardly left her home. Well, as an alderman, I was able to get one of those houses torn down. As the mayor, I've torn down the other house. And now what I'm hearing from people is, look, Mayor, we're starting to be able to enjoy our neighborhoods again because you're getting rid of the blight and the nastiness, because you guys are getting these criminals off the street who are doing violence and drugs and other stuff. I feel safe in my neighborhood again, you know? And I think, honestly, that's probably one of the things I'm the most proud of, is that although we still have a lot of issues, we have a plan, we're working the plan, and people are seeing the difference. And that is improving our quality of life. And I think that that's how we make it out of here. I think that that's how if we ever have a hope, we've got stewardship and vision and planning and implementation are critical. And I have an incredible team that makes those things happen for us.
Well, yeah, these things don't happen overnight, especially when it's been going on for like 4 decades, 5 decades, maybe even longer.
As long as I've been alive, you know, I'll give you a quality example. I graduated from high school in '96. One of my buddies was a DJ. There used to be a radio station at the top of the tower, right? It was horrible and raggedy then, right? and then now it's been empty for over 20 years, you know, and it's like, oh, we're losing the heart of our city. And I'm like, the heart of the city is the people. It's not a building. I hate for this to go down. You can look at my old house that should have been condemned, that I've spent tons of time and money and a decade restoring, to say, like, I love history. I love cool architecture. But if it's not going to serve us, then it's got to go. I just wrote an article about this. You know, everybody knows the Field of Dreams line, you know, Kevin Costner, if you build it, they will come. Well, what if you have so much blight and dilapidation everywhere that there's not any room for people to build, right? So right now, one of the biggest things we're doing is clearing out that so that we can make room for the new. If it's not crucially historical or it's not going to serve us into the future, it's got to go. We can't take care of it. We've got to strengthen what remains and then make room for the new. And that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. It's not going to happen overnight. There's a lot of cities like Danville throughout the Midwest, Rust Belt, a lot of cities that depended on General Motors.
Yep.
Marion, Indiana comes to mind.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
But it's always been my theory that if a place is going to turn things around, especially these smaller, isolated cities, they have to do things right consistently for a super long period of time. I mean, that's really the only way. It requires patience, and it requires a plan like what you guys are talking about, and acknowledgement of everything.
And speaking of plans, Chris, I should tell you this. So we are in the midst of doing our new comprehensive plan right now. We've had half a dozen or more focus groups and community meetings. We've had close to 400 people take our survey online to tell us what's good about Danville, what's bad about Danville, what do we need, what do you want us to make a priority. So in addition to the internal plans that we've developed in terms of around public safety, infrastructure, quality of life, we are actually getting feedback from the public about what they love, about what they want and what they need. And we, by next spring, should have our new full comprehensive plan in place. And that will also better help guide how we allocate our limited resources.
Because like you had said, it'll take many years, and we've kind of just started. Even the last 5 years, it's still going to take tons of time. So that comprehensive plan is 25 years. And like Mayor said, it will lead us and keep us in the right direction of what our citizens are telling us they want and what we're already working with. Because they also do an evaluation of like what we currently have, so that that's being presented as well. And also on a personal note, it keeps us accountable. As a department head, it makes sure when I'm making a decision that doesn't need the mayor or council's approval, I'm making a decision that aligns with what our citizens want if I'm looking at that comprehensive plan. And I think that's something that's incredibly important too, is the comprehensive plan isn't just for public works to look at and be like, yep, that's a road we'll improve. But it's a map. It's a map to show us where we should lead in the future and how to keep us on that right path of not changing our history, evolving in history into who we are becoming now, and not relying as much on who we are, because we can't go back in time and change things. All we can do is progress with what we have, embrace who we are, and make strides for the future.
When I took over, we only had $300,000 in our reserve. It says, our own ordinance says we should have a minimum of $1.2 million, or it said. We've now raised that since I've been mayor to a minimum of $3 million, right? Because you have to be able to take care of at least a couple months of payroll if something bad would happen. You know, all these federal grants for those and state funds were an issue for a while. I am proud to say that we have put over $30 million back into the reserves and special projects since I have been the mayor. And I think we ended this last year with, I want to say, $8 or $9 million in reserves. So what will happen is that anything above that $3 million will go to road projects. It will go to infrastructure projects. It will go to economic development, because that's what our ordinance says.
When we say it's in our reserves, it's not in our individual pocket reserves. It is in the community's reserves. Those are reserves that will help us make sure that the roads are being repaired when our community needs it, and that we have a community development administrator who can bring in business and have people have jobs. So I think people are like, oh, I can't believe you're sitting on $3 million. We're sitting on that $3 million for a real bad rainy day. That's what we're sitting on it for. And
or a chance for hundreds, 100 or hundreds of additional jobs.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, literally, we were at almost, I think we were at a net financial projection of like a $30 million, $30 million in the hole. Now we're several million dollars to the positive. So, and that's thanks to the great leadership of our city council, of our department and division heads, and all the team members of the city of Danville, helping me make sure that we are good stewards of taxpayer dollars. Because that's what I remind people. Like, so Rheanna and I live in the city of Danville, so this is our tax dollars too, right? But like, we say our portion is small compared to the great pie, right? So like we've got to make sure we're good stewards of the resources. One of the things that I'm also really proud of is our property tax rate has gone down substantially since I've been mayor. It was like 2.2 something when I took over as mayor. It's down to like 1.69, right? So one of the ways we're encouraging people to stay and to come here is making sure that at least the city's portion of the property tax bill is as low as it can possibly be.
That's a hot button topic for the whole state.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Well, it's crazy because so many people are like, well, mayor, they think that their taxes, and they think the city of Danville. The city of Danville is less than 20% of your
state.
And the school district, for example, is half of it here. We're one of 8 or 9 taxing bodies in the city of Danville. You know what I mean? And so we are doing our part to hold the line so that even when these other places raise taxes on you, we're holding the line so that your overall, bill doesn't go up on a huge part. And if it does, it's not because of the city.
That being said, would you say being right next to Indiana is another challenge?
It's a huge challenge for us. So if you go around, especially like if you drive out to Eastgate where the casino and stuff is now, you'll see that it's called Mervis Parkway. There was a gentleman named Lou Mervis, an older Jewish gentleman. He and his family, he was about the 3rd generation. They made huge investments in this community. His grandpa was literally, they called him a junk man and made fun of him because he took a cart around with a mule and collected junk. That became a metal scrap and recycling place. And now these folks have companies, places throughout the world. Anyways, Mr. Mervis, he always told me, if I moved a mile across the border, my taxes and my workers' compensation insurance alone, I would save $1 million. And I can only imagine in 2 decades, it's only gotten even greater, right? So That's why we do everything that we can on our side to hold the line with regards to property taxes. Exactly. Thankfully, there's a lot more good going on over than the bad. They're still bad, absolutely, but there's a lot more good things happening here in our community.
And we have a plan to address it.
Exactly.
We're working towards it.
Yeah, seems like it for sure.
We're fighting hard, man. It's an ongoing. I mean, as you know, you travel a lot. You see it. It's an ongoing battle. And the topic. So here's one of the other big challenges that makes me so excited, but also sometimes. It used to be you would call the city about something and complain, and they would say, "Oh, we know."
And they wouldn't do anything.
Oh, we know.
Moving on. Yeah.
We've implemented this thing and a program on our website called Report It, where citizens can report problems. And then it goes directly to the people who are responsible for that. And then once it's been addressed, it actually notifies the people, hey, this has been addressed. You
can track it. You can see how many issues have been reported. You can find where the issue's at. You can geolocate yourself. So if you don't know the exact address, if you're just looking at a random lot, you can say, I'm right here and there's an issue here.
Yeah. So the good news is people have started to have some hope because they can see things that are happening. They can see that their streets are starting to get fixed. They can see that the bad houses are starting to be addressed either through code enforcement or being torn down, right? The downside is now that people see us making progress, they expect, okay, so you've torn down all these houses. You can get this one down next door to me right now. And I even told my parents, I'm like, I love you guys, but that's one thing that I'm really proud of too. We are not a respecter of persons. I don't care if you're the richest or the poorest or the gayest or the straightest or the blackest or the whitest or the most Mexican person in Danville. We are not respecters of people. We go by what is right and what is fair, and we treat people the same regardless. I mean, for example, I've had a ticket from the police since I've been the mayor. Our former vice mayor was cited for having her garbage can out too long. Okay. I have literally sent the inspectors. My aunt lives in the house that I grew up in, and she rents it from my parents. I have literally sent the inspector on my own parents because my aunt wasn't taking care of things at our house. Right. And so if I'm going to send people after my mama, you are not safe. Right. If I'm going to accept a ticket, if our vice mayor is going to get a ticket, you are not safe. Rich, poor, young, old, doesn't matter. We're going to be treated the same.
And I think sometimes people think of code enforcement. They're like, it's so annoying. Why does my trash can being out on the road matter for more than 48 hours? Well, it matters because if we don't enforce it at this level, everybody will do it all the time. And then it gets crazy.
Then they get over, you can get a ticket if your toter isn't closed.
Again, you're from the Midwest. You know how our wind works. You know that it flies everywhere.
Garbage flows everywhere. And then we have a trashy neighborhood or a trashy main thoroughfare because you chose not to take care of your trash. No, I'm sorry, but you've got to. And that's the other thing. People look to government for everything. And we're some of the solution, but you've got to be a lot of the solution too. We cannot do this by ourselves. We need you to play your part. And that's what I keep telling everyone. Look, the city, we're going to do our part, okay? But we need you to do your part. We have so many incredible organizations, nonprofit and otherwise. We have an incredible symphony orchestra. We have some amazing theater, local theater, DLO, and others in our city, the Red Mask. I mean, we have so many, and then individuals. I'm like, look, if you want Danville to be better, I need you to cut your grass. You may not have money for a new roof, but you can cut your grass. But people will tell me, oh, I don't have a weed eater. Guess what? At 408, we had weed eaters. You're looking at them. We never owned a weed eater, but you would have never seen weeds growing up in our yard, in my fence, around our playground equipment because mom and dad made sure it got picked out of there, right? And so that's something that I think I would leave people with is that, look, we're going to do our part, but we need you to do your part too, because we're all in this together and it takes all of us. The city can't do everything. These nonprofit organizations can't do everything. An individual person can't do everything, but if we all do something, then we're going to be able to get the results that we need. And we have an uphill battle. We're fighting an uphill battle, but if we stay the course and we all do our part, we'll get there.
And that's what the You Decide What's Possible tagline came from, is that it takes each and every one of us to decide what we want to happen in the city. It takes the mayor cutting his grass and improving his house to, me taking care of my rental property. That's what it is. every single one of us is responsible in every role. If we're talking about registering to vote and vote, to reporting a neighbor that's not cutting their grass, to helping them out, go over there, help them, provide the weed eater for them. You get to decide what you want the city to be. Do you want it to be the nature and beauty of all of our crazy parks that we have? Or do you want it to be the downtown, vibrant space of bars and restaurants and activities? What do you want it to be? You have to be part of the solution.
Right.
Yeah.
I showed the clip earlier and I'll show it again, but the message on the pedestrian bridge over US Highway 150 as you enter downtown Danville from the west says, "You decide what's possible." It's Danville's new slogan, if you will. Well, what do you think? Do you think that Danville can turn things around once and for all? Do you think that this will be a much better city 10 years from now? Let me know down in the comments. Also, if you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, a big thanks to Rheanna Ollis for reaching out to me, and a big thanks to Mayor Ricky Williams Jr. for interviewing and discussing all of the plans to turn things around for his city. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.